everybody, it's the Mindful Guitarist here, and today I'm going to show you how to make the perfect bar chord. Bar chords are a big milestone for a lot of guitar players, and I think even after they kind of cross the threshold of making awesome bar chords, they still struggle with maybe pushing the notes down too hard. It kind of feels like there's some pain in their left hand when they make bar chords for a while. And you know, a lot of people who can still make bar chords kind of struggle with maybe having a couple bum notes every once in a while, especially with the minor shape. So I'm going to show you the techniques that I've learned to make my bar chords ring out really nicely so you can hear all the notes, and also I'm going to show you how to basically not have any pain in your left hand when you make these chords so that you can play them for as long as you want. Alright, so the way I want you to work with this lesson is I want you to try and do it exactly the way that I'm showing you, and then I want you to kind of adjust to taste for each one of these steps afterward. And if you compare the way I'm teaching it versus the way that I'm playing it, you'll see that there's some slight adjustments I've made for myself as well. We all have different hands, and we all feel things that are more subtle than maybe what a teacher can observe. But I want you to take this each technique strictly at first, and then make slight adjustments. You should be able to do everything in the video. Okay, so a great bar chord starts definitely with where your thumb is at on the back of the neck. So my thumb, I'll turn all the way around for you. My thumb is all right here in the middle of the back of the neck, pointed upward. And I'll just move around those bar chords like I was playing at the beginning of the video so you can get an idea. So as you can see, it pretty much stays in the same place the whole time. And I'm having fun doing these dramatic turnbacks. But as you can see, my thumb is staying in the same place, no matter where the rest of my hand is at. If you want to visualize where your thumb should be, if you've been putting it in a different place, think about it being basically like underneath where your middle finger is at. So my hand is kind of just going like this, right? Some problems that I see from guitarists are first of all, they might have their thumb in the back of the neck like this, but then when they move it, it kind of tends to get out of sorts. So it's like they're pushing down and it's almost like this, rather than with their thumb underneath. And that's going to take away a lot of your power and your ability to push the notes down enough so that you don't get any buzzing. So that's the first big one. Also, if your thumb is pretty high up on the neck, try and lower it. It's going to make your ability to have clear notes really hard if your thumb is high up on the neck. And it's similar to when the thumb is like off center. It's taking away your ability to push the notes down as hard as you want. And also, the higher your thumb is, the more your hand the more your fingers start to kind of flatten out, and they're more likely to touch the other strings. Okay, so thumb is part one. Part two is your bar finger, of course. Now, the way that I lay my bar finger is, well, the proper way to do it, the way I learned it from my classical guitar teacher, John Jervis was his name. He showed me that you should keep your bar finger totally straight, and so that means the knuckle in the middle here is locked, and that you want to lay it, excuse me, drop my pick, that you want to lay your bar finger just slightly rolled off. So think about rolling it like toward the headstock here, just a little bit, so that you get some contact with the bone of your finger. Alright, so now that we've got those two things down, and then of course you want to place your bar right behind the fret. so that you don't have to push down as hard as you possibly can. You can just push down with minimum effort and get great sounding notes. Alright, so those are the first two steps. Hopefully if you've done that right, you shouldn't have any tension in this thumb tendon or any tension in the palm of your hand at all. There should be no squeezing or struggling at all. This is all about just putting your fingers in the best place so that you can generate the most amount of force with the least amount of effort. Alright, so the next finger we're going to be working with is the middle finger. We're going to place our middle finger on the 6th fret of the G string. That's 1 fret higher than our 5th fret bar. And you should think of your middle finger as essentially the flip side of what your thumb is doing. So you can generate quite a bit of power with just your middle finger, and it kind of supports the rest of your fingers on the fretboard. So think of your finger as the center of the bar chord. And what you'll notice here is my middle finger is actually pretty straight. So what you want with your middle finger is basically like a straight line. You don't want this knuckle here to be inverted. You want it to be straight. What you'll find is that maybe it gets curved a little bit, but you don't want it to be curved that way, is the point I'm trying to make. And then in this example, my bar finger is straight and my middle finger is straight. And I'm not pressing down very hard at all, and I'm getting very clean notes. Okay, and that leads us to our last two fingers, the ring and pinky. They pretty much just work as a team. So when you're putting your fingers down, they should pretty much go down about at the same time as you're working on them. They're both going to be on the 7th fret of the A and the D strings for our full bar chord. The only things you need to remember for those two fingers are that they're going to be a little bit arched, so I'll use my pinky as an example. So this knuckle here, the last knuckle before the nail on each finger, is going to be bent a little bit. And that's so that you don't accidentally mute the other strings, since they're going to be reaching over a lot of strings. And then the other thing is, like with any note that you play on the guitar, try and get your fingers as close to the frets as possible, just behind them, so that once again you don't have to push down very hard. See how I'm stressing you don't have to push down very hard? It's a really important component with bar chords that a lot of people seem to miss. So you don't have to strangle your guitar to play a bar chord. You shouldn't feel tons of pain after playing bar chords for 5 minutes. So if you're doing it that way, then change your technique, because that is not how bar chords should feel. That's not how anything on guitar should feel. Okay, so that's how you make a major bar chord with the root on the E string, kind of the classic bar chord shape. I'm going to move down here to the 2nd fret for a minor bar chord, and that's with no middle finger. A lot of people struggle with minor bar chords only for one note, really, which is the G string. And that's a pretty important note. It's the only note in the chord that identifies it as minor, so you really want to make sure that note rings out. And the only real thing that you can do is just make sure that your bar finger is really straight. So just try and troubleshoot with your bar finger. Again, you want to roll it closer to the headstock. And just try those little micro movements and see what kind of placement you can get to get that note to ring out, because like I said, it's really important. Alright, so I think that about does it. I hope you make the perfect bar chord, and that every bar chord you make is perfect from here on out. Check out my Quick Tricks video playlist, and please subscribe to my channel if you like these videos. I'll see you next time.